Dragon raids. Here, in the kingdom of Riddell, Count Kurbek's territory has faced dragons for many years. The history of the Count's family was the history of battles with dragons. The knights did their best to take on the dragon in front of them, but it flew away. The commander shouted at them to go after it, and to prepare another incantation, but stopped at the shake of a tremor. Dragons were synonymous with disaster, especially the Black Dragon, which has only appeared twice in the history of Riddell. Records from previous history say that multiple towns were completely wiped out from its appearance. Lady Isabel's servant told her they needed to evacuate, but she couldn't, knowing her father and the knights were engaged in battle. As his daughter, it would be unforgivable for her to abandon the people now, even if it meant she perished here in the Kurbek lands. 3 months later, we find Monica napping. She was woken up by Annie's call at her door, bringing her some food to eat. Annie would say hello to Monica's cat Nero while setting the basket down. She then told Monica about how 3 months ago, the eastern border was hit by a dragon raid, and she had heard lots of tarot dragons appeared near the village. Even more scary, the leader of the tarot dragons was the legendary infamous Black Dragon of Worgen. One of the 7 sages was sent out there to deal with it. Of course, the 7 sages were the top 7 mages in the country. Annie glamorized how the youngest of the 7, known as the Silent Witch, drove them all off by herself, while Monica continued to anxiously fidget. Annie rambled on about how the Silent Witch was the only mage around who could use enchanted magecraft. Casting spells without chanting was super cool. Monica suddenly paid Annie, meekly thanking her for always bringing her what she needed. Annie was curious as to how Monica made money, so she answered, "Mathematics," to which Annie supposed the colleague who had asked for her whereabouts must be a mathematician too. Annie had given him directions to this place. Hearing this, Monica's hand started shaking, and when Lewis Miller tried to tell her, "Long time no see," she shut the door on him. He opened it as she tried to push him back, stuttering while calling him Lewis. He asked that she not refer to him so ridiculously, causing her to apologize and cover herself. After Annie left, he referred to the anxious girl by full title, Lady Monica Everett, the Silent Witch of the 7 Sages. Waiting for her to tidy things up, Lewis described how humans could not manipulate mana without incantations. However, Monica was the one genius who made the impossible possible. This girl, who had hidden herself away in a mountain cabin, was one of the best mages in the kingdom. The story of how she came to master enchanted magecraft was pretty simple. She was extremely shy and got nervous easily. She found it difficult to speak in front of other people. When she studied at Minerva's Mage Training Institute, talking to strangers would cause her to convulse, and she'd be unable to make a sound. In the worst cases, she would vomit or faint. Naturally, there was no way she could perform magic incantations. She was very close to failure. When it occurred to her, that's when she got the idea to just use magic without chanting. Most people would try to overcome their fear of strangers and social anxiety, but her way of thinking soared far off in an unexpected direction, and her talent blossomed. She mastered enchanted spells and quickly rose to become one of the 7 sages. As a fellow sage, Lewis Miller, the barrier mage, told her she was still squandering her talent. He told his servant Rin to activate the soundproof barrier, and everything, even nature around them, was completely silent. Monica expected as much from a high spirit like Rinsbelfried. If only humans could manipulate mana without spells, then she wouldn't have had to perfect enchanted magecraft herself. Lewis then started to get to the point of his visit. He revealed he'd been serving as a bodyguard to the second prince, under secret orders from the king. Despite being a part of the first prince's faction, he had a speculative reason why, but wasn't going to speak on his highness's intentions, since that'd be disrespectful. Felix, the second prince, attended Serendia Academy, a boarding school. Louis felt it'd be easy to infiltrate, but wouldn't make much sense, pointing out that with his reputation and good looks, he wasn't cut out for undercover work. Rins told him not to get too full of himself, but he answered that opinionated maids don't get paid. Duke Clockford, a strong supporter of the second prince, pulled the strings of the academy, so Lewis prepared a combined tracking and communication barrier brooch, with danger detection and low-range physical and magical defense. This brooch and the one he gave Prince Felix were a matching pair, allowing him to monitor Felix's location and movements at all times. Monica questioned the morality of this, since it was spying, to which Lewis answered with the saying, What he doesn't know won't hurt him. The king presented the other brooch to his son under the guise of a present, but it broke the very next day after it was given to him, after devoting an entire week of sleepless, tireless effort. It was gone in just one day. When the brooch shattered, Louis found it so hilarious he couldn't stop laughing. He even endured being apart from his beloved wife in order to craft the piece. Despite Louis's exhaustion, he rallied and rushed to the academy. And when he got there, they just said nothing happened, only that the brooch was broken accidentally. Crushing it, Louis asked if Monica understood what he wanted, but she rapidly shook no. He smiled, saying he wanted her to sneak into the academy and protect Felix in his stead. She tried to refuse, but he cut her off, reminding her that unlike him, she wasn't a part of high society, and even at ceremonies, she kept her hood up and her gaze lowered. No one knew her face. Most importantly, no one would ever suspect such a plain little girl to be one of the 7 sages. She cried, but there would be no buts. Her magic was perfect for providing discreet protection. She whined about not wanting to, saying she was already busy with paperwork and had just slayed a dragon last month. However, Louis had slain 10 in that same time. So what did that matter? She was a 7th sage. There were some jobs only she could handle. She tried to reason that she only joined as a spare, but Louis refused to let her get away, so she accepted. He then relayed the specifics. A few years ago, at the monastery in Count Kerbeck's territory, there was a girl with no family. The former Countess of Kerbeck saw a likeness of her deceased husband in the girl and decided to adopt her. The girl was cherished by the former Countess and had a happy upbringing. However, the Countess was struck down by a dreadful illness and passed away. The girl, having lost her guardian, was resented by the cruel Count's daughter and forced to work as a servant. Then, when that Count's daughter was accepted into the academy, the girl was forced to go as her attendant. Monica felt bad for the poor girl, and Louis reiterated that was right. Monica would be playing the role of that poor girl. When Louis left, Monica sat in the same spot, completely brain-broken. Nero, her familiar, spoke to her in a boyish voice. He was telling her to look at his paws that she loved, eventually snapping her out of her daze, to transitioning into a full meltdown. He suggested if it bothered her so much, she could just run away. But she knew that'd never work, because Louis would chase her no matter how far she went. She's seen the hard calluses on his knuckles under his gloves. That's when Nero remembered Louis was known as the guardian of the underworld. He then pointed out that on the bright side, the prince must at least be nice. With Nero being a book lover, he knew that's what was written in Dustin Gunther's book. Monica had no idea though. Even having to attend official events as a sage, she always kept her eyes shut through them and never conversed with anyone. She later imagined a whimsical song about numerous piggies being sold in the winter, and in reality, she had counted up to 317,811 piggies. Arriving at Louis's estate, he tried to embrace his beloved Rosalie, but she just ignored him to observe Monica in fine detail. We learned Monica is 16, and while Rosalie had no idea who Monica was, she decided to take care of her, leaving Louis to say, "Wouldn't it be nice if you welcomed your husband when he came home?" Monica was almost presentable now. She was going to meet Count Kerbeck's daughter. The Count knew she was going to be under alias, and was willing to play along for the Silent Witch, since she saved his domain from the Black Dragon. Isabel greeted Monica with the snooty anime rich girl. Oh ho ho ho! She pointed out that Monica was as shabby as ever, and that her name was recorded among the lowest ranks of Count Kerbeck's family. She laughed, calling that terribly embarrassing. She asked how her performance was. She'd been practicing her villainous noble lady impression every single day for a while. She apologized and graced herself before the honorable Lady Silent Witch, and expressed her deep gratitude to Monica for protecting their domain. Monica was shy, but Isabel was fine with it, knowing Monica was stronger and braver than anyone. We turned back to the domain on fire, as Monica thanked her maid for serving their family for years. She tried to release Agatha, but the maid insisted on accompanying her to the very end. A boy then came to inform them that the Silent Witch just defeated the Black Dragon all by herself, and there were 0 casualties. Isabel broke down in tears of relief. Then suddenly, the remaining tarot dragons flew overhead and started wreaking havoc on the town. And oh no, one of them was opening its jaws right at Isabel, but would be killed instantly by a powerful bolt. Monica noticed the shining light and a gate emerging from a spell casted with no chanting. The genius, silent witch, Monica Everett, rained a flurry of light barrage, taking out the rest of the tarot dragons with quick work, on top of using wind to carry them to save the town from harm. Then, she disappeared without a word. Isabel thought she was so cool. Now knowing Monica was on a mission to infiltrate Serendia Academy, Isabel was going to bully her endlessly, so no one would suspect her. She told Monica not to worry, and to only focus on protecting His Highness. At a young age, Monica was extremely happy to receive measuring tape as a gift from her father. She would measure everything she could find in the room, and she always had so much fun. She took the measuring tape with her everywhere, using it so often, the markings eventually rubbed off. Through this, she discovered the world was full of numbers, and the same went for humans. That's what her father would tell her anyway. Embracing her role as a villainous, noble lady, Isabel said she couldn't be in the same room as a grubby commoner like Monica. The headmaster apologized because he had assumed they were relatives. Prior to this, Monica was really nervous about sharing a room with someone, but Isabel told her not to worry. She would take care of it with the true flair of a villainous lady. Swaying her body like a damsel in distress, Isabel said, "I simply cannot bear it," dramatically falling to the ground. The headmaster became worried, offering to do anything to help. She knew she'd won. Isabel then suggested the attic room, claiming it was better suited for the likes of Monica. And if the attic room was taken, she wanted Monica put in the stables with the horses. She couldn't care less. Monica was utterly stunned by Isabel's acting, and honestly, it's pretty fun to watch. Isabel is definitely my favorite character now. Meanwhile, Student Council Treasurer Aaron O'Brien is brought before the Student Council President and the other members. Evidence of tampering had been found in the account books, and now Aaron was scared stiff, unable to respond. Elliot Howard claimed it had happened over 30 times from what he checked. Bridget Graham asked if money from the special budget had been misused as well. The General Affairs Officer, Neil Clay Maywood, confirmed her question, saying that they were still reviewing, but combined with the regular budget, it may be closer to 50 occurrences. Amid all this, the council vice president, Cyril Ashley, remained silent. Aaron was selected for the student council because Felix's grandfather, Duke Clockford, put in a recommendation. Felix imagined his grandfather would lose faith in Aaron's father after this incident. Feeling anxious and scared, Aaron told himself it was fine, believing he would take care of it somehow. But now he questioned why he couldn't remember who he was talking about. Felix then told him that his foolishness would drag the house of Count Stale through the mud. Frustrated, Aaron told him to shut up, saying he was just a lapdog of the Duke, royal in name only. As he rushed to attack Felix, Cyril would grab him and cast a spell to freeze his feet in place, and then emphasized that such insolence toward His Highness was worthy of death. Felix calmed down, and Cyril apologized for acting out of turn. After thanking Cyril for taking care of him, Felix told Aaron he was suspended until a formal expulsion notice was issued. Aaron would have to reflect on his foolishness and being outsmarted by a mere lapdog of the Duke. Outside the headmaster's office, Isabel was sad because she wanted to be roommates with Monica so they could have secret midnight tea parties. But she knew she couldn't get in the way of Monica's mission. They suddenly saw Aaron yelling to be let go, insisting he did nothing while being dragged out of the council room. Isabel recognized who Aaron was because she had seen him at social gatherings before. She also recognized Lord Elliot, who was from the house of Count Dasfee. However, she didn't know Cyril. But since he wore a student council officer badge, she assumed he was from a distinguished family too. Watching her reactions, Monica thought that Isabel was more suited for this undercover job than she was. Monica was later asked to introduce herself to her classmates, but her shyness wouldn't let her utter a single word. The teacher, High Mage Victor Thornley, told her she was at a prestigious academy that housed the country's most elite, and the students there were expected to demonstrate a proper sense of decorum and cultural sophistication. Monica looked at the whole class with fear as it became bigger. She recalled how her former classmates would mock her for her shyness, which left her even more scared to speak. Victor then told her to go to her seat. Lana Colette approached her and asked why she was wearing her hair in braids. Monica apparently didn't know any other styles, and the other girls in the class mocked her in hushed whispers for not having a maid and wearing shabby clothes. Lana ignored the side comments, asking Monica where she grew up, to which she replied, Leonic. Lana was intrigued and asked what was trendy in the city, which made Monica more uneasy. She didn't really know about that kind of thing, but that didn't stop Lana from bringing up more to converse about. she would show Monica the latest lipstick, which was from the royal capital. Their classmates then went further to call Lana a nouveau rich baron's daughter, adding that she was bragging to a country bumpkin. They even claimed she bought her title with money and was desperate to make a friend. But Lana ignored them once again. She would then tend to Monica's hair, causing her to jolt. She carefully combed Monica's hair and tied it with a ribbon. Afterward, she told Monica it was easy to make, letting her know she could do it herself. As she left, Monica tried to talk to her, but no words left her mouth. Monica would then stare at herself in the mirror, thinking about how she couldn't utter a single word to thank Lana. She later started searching for Felix. Since he was the student council president, if she could get close to the student council room, maybe she could see his face. But with so many people on campus, it was impossible for her. If she didn't hurry up and start guarding the prince, Louis would unleash his wrath upon her, and just the thought of that caused her to shriek, "I'm sorry, I'll do my best," like some schizo in front of the other students. She decided to look for a quiet place where she could have some nuts for lunch, and walking through a peaceful, beautiful garden, she found Prince Felix reading a book by a fountain. His shining glimmer made her a little red, so she decided to back away. Elliot grabbed her as she tried to leave, mistaking the nuts in her pocket for a weapon. When she tried to explain, he didn't believe anyone would actually put their lunch in their pocket. He accused Monica of following them and asked who she worked for. However, she was too frightened to answer and tripped, causing the nuts to fall out of her pocket. Elliot believed she was working with Aaron, but Felix would tell him to let her go, shushing him before he revealed too much. While helping Monica pick up her lunch, Felix gently asked if she was the second-year transfer student he had heard about, and recalled her name, uttering Monica Norton. She shook her head in affirmation with watery eyes, and he could see clearly she wasn't an assassin, but more akin to a baby squirrel who got lost and wandered here by mistake. He then apologized for interrupting her lunch, handing all of her nuts back. Monica answered, thank, but before she could complete it, Felix quickly grabbed her and used his body as a shield to protect her from a falling vase. But with Monica's quick reflexes, she cast wind magic to deflect the vase before it could land on them. Elliot quickly rushed off to find the culprit, and Monica was now in close range of Prince Felix's handsome face. He was too pretty that she passed out on the spot where her soul left her body. We go back to when she was a helpless kid. She counted numbers as a man threw bottles at her, saying he was taking the fall, all thanks to her idiot father. The man warned her not to go blurting out weird stuff in public, ever again. Monica would quickly wake up from that dreadful nightmare. There, she met Selma Kirsch, her class's health committee representative. As Selma caressed her disheveled hair, Monica couldn't help but notice how beautiful her hands were. She then told Monica she could head to her dorm once she had calmed down. Monica returned to the attic and cried to Nero that this mission was impossible. She had messed up from day one. Nero would advise her to just tamper with people's memories if she were about to mess up, but she just couldn't, feeling it wasn't right to use mind manipulation magecraft for things like that. The spell could cause memory loss or leave someone in a delirious state. Monica recalled a few people that were really nice to her today, feeling bad that she still couldn't say thank you properly. Nero told her to leave it to him, which scared her. He suddenly transformed into human form, causing Monica to beg him to change back. However, he enjoyed this, as he told her to say, "Thank you, Lord Nero," before pouncing on her like the cat boy he was. Suddenly, he noticed someone shady outside the window. Monica then used magecraft to enhance her sight, allowing her to see someone in the garden of the boys' dormitory. Nero wondered if this person was an assassin, and asked if they should go after him. Monica abruptly told him that she had met Felix earlier. She then remembered her younger days, when she asked her father if his research would be finished after his calculations were done. He always answered that what she saw was just a small part of it, and the research may turn out to be useless. It could even be difficult for him to finish it during his lifetime. The next morning, she poured herself a hot cup of tea and sat down to dress her hair. She had never paid much attention to her hair before, and asked Nero if there was something that wasn't pointless to him. He felt they were talking about philosophy, and boasted about his intelligence for knowing what philosophy was. Monica praised him as he requested, and he pointed out that her praises weren't pointless to him. He quoted Dustin Gunther, saying, "Life is full of pointless things, so why not enjoy them to the fullest?" At that moment, Monica recalled her father telling her that the tougher the challenge, the more fun it is, and felt she needed to give herself a tougher challenge. In class, she approached Lana, jittering through each word, saying that she tried to make her hair the way Lana did for her the other day. She tried returning the ribbon. while thanking Lana for the previous day, but Lana rejected it, saying that hairstyle wasn't cool anymore, as a way to avoid taking the ribbon back. Monica then requested that she teach her how to do it, shrieking internally over if she was approaching too rudely, but Lana agreed. As Lana combed her hair, she explained the comb was made by a craftsman from Animal, bringing up how it was tastefully studded with little gemstones. Lana stopped midway, feeling her stories were boring. After all, her family was nouveau riche, so she had nothing special to say. Monica then said people also told her that her stories were boring because she only talked about numbers, something Lana found funny. Elliot then entered the class, and as soon as Monica saw him, she hid, but he clearly watched her hide in the curtains. He commented that she truly was a timid little squirrel as he closed in on her. Then, bringing her to the student council office, she met Prince Felix Riddell, who properly introduced himself. She couldn't believe the person she met yesterday was the second prince, and thanked him for helping her out, and asked why he snuck out of the dorm last night. Elliot was shocked, because this was the first he had heard of this. Monica claimed she saw him from her windows, but Felix replied it could have been someone else who was suspicious. Monica couldn't tell how they looked, because the person was wearing a hood, but their build was like Felix's. She then quickly grabbed chalk and started writing on the board, explaining the hooded boy had the golden ratio. She was good at judging the length of things just by looking at them, and ascribed his features and body measurements with exact details, saying his head had a width-to-height ratio of 1 to 1.618, reiterating it was close to the golden ratio which humans perceived as the most beautiful. Even with clothes on, she could project the position of his navel by the length of his legs, and claimed the person from last night and Felix had upper to lower body ratios divided at the navel that matched this golden ratio. Realizing how much she had rambled, she felt she had messed up, but Felix confirmed her measurements were right. As expected, she really was a harmless little squirrel. Felix believed if she really was an assassin, there's no way she'd do nothing when he was alone, or run her mouth off like that. As for the flower pot incident, Monica said it could have fallen by chance. Felix then explained they decided to confine Aaron to the dorm until his expulsion process was complete. There was also an incident where Felix was nearly crushed by a falling board. Aaron had hinted there was an accomplice, which was why they set a trap in the backyard. Monica then realized she was suspected of being an assassin. Elliot even tried to get her to confess, but she claimed it wasn't her. So, he asked if she would find the real culprit. She had no choice but to accept. Felix left the matter to her, where afterward, she cried while clutching Nero, who pointed out it would be a slight problem since she was considered an assassin when she was supposed to be a bodyguard. Monica wailed, wanting to go back to her hut in the mountain, calling herself a useless recluse. Nero agreed that she was quite a helpless master, and offered to pat her with his paws. While he comforted her, he reminded her that she needed to find the person after the prince. Then, they looked at the flower pot she broke earlier, and she guessed whoever threw it had to be on the top floor. By the stairs, she overheard some girls teasing Selma because Aaron might be leaving school due to a sudden illness. Poor Selma had devoted herself to him, but now their engagement was going to be broken off. Lana saw Monica silently watching and dragged her so they could quickly push past the girls. She politely asked if they could squeeze past, but Caroline Simmons replied, "Your manners have something to be desired," boasting that her family was more prestigious. She said Lana should have greeted her first. Lana simply asked her to move out of the way again, and subtly called her an escaped cow. She implied that Caroline's butt was so big, she couldn't move out of the way. Then Caroline burst out saying, "Who are you calling a cow?" pushing Lana, causing her to back into Monica, who tipped over the stairs. Slowly falling over, Monica's mind raced on whether to use magic, but was concerned it would raise suspicions. She noticed the gradient of the stairs, and thought if she used a protective barrier to flatten the gradient, she would slide down naturally. She then activated her barrier magic, and zipped down the stairs screaming, soon bumping into Cyril. He asked if she was hurt, but she just kept saying sorry over and over. Cyril then lifted her hair and saw her forehead was a bit red. She was surprised that he wasn't angry, and noticed his fingertips were cold, making her think that he was releasing mana unknowingly. Lana came running soon after, scared that Monica might have been hurt. As Cyril asked what the commotion was about, Caroline lied that Lana pushed Monica down the stairs as a joke. Lana refuted this, explaining that Caroline pushed her while Monica was caught in the crossfire. Caroline responded by making it look like Lana was passing the blame, saying that nouveau riche kids have some nerve, and assumed that Cyril would be on her side simply because she was from the house of Count Norn. Monica nervously looked at Cyril and thought about how this was the aristocratic world. When someone high up decided you were wicked, it became the truth, even if the person wasn't at fault. Her lips trembled as she begged for her voice to work. If she didn't say something, Lana would be made to be the villain. Monica wanted anything but that. With her voice shaking, she told Cyril that she simply slipped and it was no one's fault. Lana tried to interject, but Monica ran away too quickly. Arriving at the music room, she heard a girl playing the piano. The girl told her to come back later, but Monica said she left something on the balcony. There, she found 3 flower pots and 1 empty one. The ledge was too high for her, so she used the empty pot as a stool to look over the balcony, confirming that this was where the broken pot was thrown from. Noticing that her gloves had become dirty, she was a little sad because she only had 1 pair, but something suddenly clicked in her head. Monica then asked the girl inside if she had a key to this classroom, and the girl simply answered that Monica would have to submit a request form in the faculty room if she wanted to book the room, and Monica humbly thanked her. Over in the student council office, Elliot complained to Felix, saying that Monica was not an aristocrat by any stretch of the imagination. But he admitted it was better to have her do the snooping than themselves. Felix didn't want Duke Clockford to intervene in the matter, even if they referred to him as the Duke's lapdog. Most of all, he didn't want people to think that Felix Arc-Radill was incapable of taking on a case of this size. Monica then entered the room, telling the two she knew who the perpetrator was. Meanwhile, Selma was being teased by some girls because her fiancé had left school. They told her she could talk to them about anything. After all, they were friends. Selma thought even if they used her to feel better about themselves, she couldn't give up her title as their friend for anything. She thought that at least, if she had friends, she wouldn't be Selma who had nothing. Shortly, Elliot called her to the student council office. In the office, Felix said Monica had informed him that she was the culprit behind the recent incidents, and he asked Monica to explain. Even though the scene with the sign falling had been tidied up, Monica said she knew what happened with the flower pot. As she started explaining, she excitedly rambled about the speed of the fall and the way the pot shattered. But Felix interjected to stop her from going into unnecessary details. Basically, from her calculations, the pot was dropped from the 4th floor, and she also checked who used the music room at the time. Before she could go further, Selma interrupted, rushedly saying, "I just went to water the plants." Monica then pointed out that they were the same height, which meant she used the empty flower pot as a stool to look over the balcony, and that Selma was also wearing gloves today. But when Monica met her in the infirmary, she noticed Selma wasn't wearing gloves then. The reason being that they got dirty when she moved the flower pot. Selma looked distraught, telling Monica she was wrong. But Monica had also found a pair of dirty gloves in the trash with Selma's initials on them. Selma's anxiousness then led to a wild scream, and she started crashing out, admitting that she was the one behind it all, including the student council budget. So she begged Felix to have mercy on her fiancé, claiming Aaron was being tricked by her all along. She didn't want her fiancé taken from her, a girl who had nothing. After she left, Monica asked Felix what would happen to Selma. He answered that her family deserved the death penalty. After all, this was a royal assassination attempt. Hearing this scared Monica, but he then said it'd be best to have Selma withdraw from the school voluntarily. The way she was willing to give up everything for those she cared about struck a chord with him. With things resolved, Monica lit up, seeing the records on the table. She quickly told Felix that 3 of the numbers didn't match, and he was shocked that she could read the accounting records. Then asked her to help him review them. Monica was exhilarated, especially after being deprived of numbers for so long. So, Felix then appointed her as the student council treasurer, causing her to fall over. Night came, and she was still in shock. Nero used his paws to comfort her, which brought her back to her senses. She cried about becoming the student council treasurer, but Nero felt this would make her job easier. Earlier, Elliot couldn't believe that Felix appointed the Squirrel Girl, but Felix explained to them that Monica was able to review records from the last 5 years in just a couple of hours. Felix asked Monica what she thought about the records, and she was surprised by how sloppy the management was for such a large sum of money. Cyril yelled, "Why you? How dare you talk to His Highness like that?" causing her to shrink back expectantly. She just wanted to go home. That same night, Cyril was going through the records and begrudgingly admitted Monica's work was perfect. He then recognized her handwriting, but felt there was no way it could be what he was thinking of. As he left his study, he felt a sharp pain in his head, and his eyes glowed red, as if he had lost a sense of himself. The next day, Isabel berated Monica loudly as a spectacle for bystanders to hear, for being part of the student council, even breaking the teacups, questioning how she convinced His Highness to let her join. Soon, softly throwing a pillow on the floor, she was proud of her villainous acting. But, with Monica pointing out that she had broken all the teacups, Isabel and Agatha then showed a box filled with new teacups, adding that the ones broken were already chipped in the first place. Isabel then properly congratulated Monica on becoming the student council treasurer. She noticed Monica's new hairstyle and wanted Agatha to do the same for her. But the maid replied that villainesses didn't wear the same hair as the girl they were bullying. However, she promised to give them matching hairstyles during the holidays. In class, Monica's classmates couldn't believe a country bumpkin like her had become the treasurer. Lana confronted her about being a part of the student council, but Monica remained silent. Feeling bad about the previous day, Lana admitted she had provoked Caroline and asked if Monica was alright, which made her happy. Lana also noticed Monica's hair was undone and offered to help her braid it again as a way to apologize. Later on, in the student council room, Prince Felix asked Cyril to teach Monica how to do her job as treasurer, since he was treasurer before. She really wanted someone who was closer in age instead, but Felix insisted Cyril would train her well. Afterwards, Cyril explained how busy a treasurer could get and told her not to leave out the things he listed. The chilly air made her sneeze, so he opened the windows and gave her a scarf to warm up. Due to the cold, Monica confirmed that Cyril was releasing mana from his body somehow. She then noticed the accounting records she had reviewed earlier, and he told her that his advisor, Professor Thornley, would be checking them. She apologized, feeling bad that her review must have given him a lot of extra work. But Cyril said it was just the work that needed to be done. He questioned why she was so jumpy and told her to be proud of her work, saying it was flawless. However, Monica couldn't be proud of herself. She recalled the memory of a boy who believed she always looked down on him. Cyril then let her know that he hated the word can't. He revealed that he had already spoken to some students about the staircase incident and now knew the truth of what had happened, adding that Caroline Simmons had been given a strict warning and would submit a written apology as well. Considering how evasive Monica was, it took him considerable time to actually discover the truth. Monica wondered if there really were people like this among the aristocrats. Cyril then reprimanded her for speaking too softly and urged her to speak louder and more clearly, turning it into a small comedic moment where she went, I'm sorry, causing him to shout, scolding her for adding staccato to her wording. By late evening, as he was heading to Professor Thornley to hand him the accounting documents, he paused, becoming concerned, thinking more and more of his professor. At night, Monica and Nero saw a bird fly into their room, and it transformed into Rin, who told them that Lewis had an urgent message. I, Lewis Miller, am pleased to announce that I'm going to be a father. This was the last thing Nero needed to know. Rin said this was the most pressing news, but Nero didn't think so. Rin then handed a letter to Monica, where Lewis told her to write her most important updates, since she was incompetent at delivering messages verbally. Suddenly, Rin noticed an excessive amount of ice mana coming from behind the boys' dormitory. Cyril stumbled through the forest, desperate to reveal the truth behind the falsified financial records. But then, he fell to his knees, confused, questioning what he was even doing. A sudden surge of mana erupted from his necklace, triggering his ice magic and trapping him in frost pillars. When they arrived, Monica suspected Cyril had mana hyperabsorption, a condition where the body takes in more mana than it can handle. People like that usually wore magical items to release the excess. That's when Monica remembered the brooch Cyril usually wore. Rin confirmed the brooch was indeed supplying Cyril with the mana surrounding him. Nero quickly dashed in to save the day, but as he tried to rip off the brooch, it blasted him away. As the ice continued to grow, Monica put on her cloak and approached Cyril. He uttered he wouldn't hand over the brooch because it was entrusted to him by his father. Cyril attacked with an icicle, but Monica quickly countered with her flames. She was able to neutralize the attacks while still keeping a protective barrier around Cyril's body. Eventually, the ice completely engulfed Cyril as he thought about how his foster father was the only one who accepted him. Then, Monica released a burst of powerful fire magic that shattered the ice and freed him. Looking at Monica, Cyril saw the image of his mother and wondered why she refused to accept him. Cyril's father, who carried the blood of the Marquesas family, didn't work, and he treated his commoner wife violently every day. After he died from his alcohol addiction, Cyril was eager to ease his mother's burden. He was happy to tell her that the House of Marques Hyone wanted to adopt him, but she didn't seem thrilled that he was a child of nobility. Cyril needed to gain her approval, so he decided to work harder for her and for the father who fostered him. When he came to, he saw Monica analyzing the brooch and demanded she return it. Monica placed it on his chest, and he fell unconscious again. Rin then approached, commending her. Monica explained it was fine now, because she added a protective formula to the brooch. Cyril's condition was quite troublesome, but if he handled it properly, it could be quite beneficial to a mage. She then asked Nero to look after him. While running off with Rin, Monica explained that Cyril's condition looked more like mind manipulation than just mana poisoning, like what happened with Aaron and Selma. They arrived at Professor Thornley's door, but before he could scold Monica for being out late, she cut in, asking what he planned to do with the documents in his hands. She then told him not to bother replacing them. She'd already memorized every figure from the ones she reviewed. The student council's financial records had been messy for years, but things changed 5 years ago. That's when the falsification became more sophisticated, and the embezzled amounts increased. She pointed out that this shift happened the same year the professor became the council's advisor. Suddenly, Professor Thornley grabbed her arm, stating that magecraft research costed money. He started chanting a mind manipulation spell and attempted to erase her memory. But Monica told him his technique was far from perfect. She broke his spell and began rewriting the formula, something he thought was impossible. Each butterfly that appeared was a magic formula itself to create such a thing without chanting. By the time the professor realized who Monica was, she would engulf him in her spell, and for the next 24 hours, he would drift in an endless dream. Thornley suddenly saw himself in the school halls, recalling that he needed to return the rewritten documents to the student council. Erasing Cyril's memory wasn't enough, so he thought about brainwashing the student council president. Out of nowhere, a pig appeared and started biting the documents. That one pig became two, and before the professor could react, he found himself trapped in Monica's strange little tune about counting piggies as they buried him. Outside, he was foaming at the mouth, and Monica panicked because it was illegal to use mind manipulation magic on others. Rin then told Monica to leave the matter to her, saying, most likely, Lewis will torture or interrogate him and handle the matter properly. The next day, rumors were already spreading. Professor Thornley had been arrested for dabbling in dark magic. When Lana told Monica it was one of the 7 sages who did it, Monica immediately froze in panic. Lana went on to say it was Lewis Miller who made the arrest, and began listing the 7 sages: Barrier Mage, Starseer Witch, Witch of Thorns, Artillery Mage. But before she could finish, Monica interrupted, showing Lana the best she could do with her braids. Felix got word from the Water High Spirit, Will Dianu, his familiar, about Cyril's condition, stating someone carried him back to the boys' dormitory. Will Dianu expressed his suspicions about Monica because they didn't really know who she was. Felix had laid a trap by leaving the keys to the valuable student council materials out in the open, but Monica didn't take the bait. He speculated on if she was an overseer from Duke Clockford, or maybe even a royal guard sent by the king. He joked that she might be an assassin, though Wildenu didn't find it funny. He then reminded the spirit that his life only mattered until the next king was chosen, so he just wanted to enjoy himself a little. In the student council office, Monica fell asleep because she had used up a lot of mana. Cyril then walked in and stared at her momentarily. As he took the feather out of her hands, he noticed her hands were small, just like the ones he felt when he passed out. Felix came in shortly after that, sending Cyril into a panic as he jittered, "Your Highness, it's not what it looks like." He forced Monica awake, and she was glad to see he wasn't cold anymore. Felix gently fed Monica as she dozed off, and to his surprise, she managed to eat while half asleep. In her dream, she was drafting a report to Lewis. Then, she mumbled, "Congratulations on your wife's pregnancy," making it look like she was talking about Cyril. And Felix joked, asking him whose was it. "You should take on the responsibility properly." And now Cyril was flush, frantic because Monica was just speaking nonsense in her sleep. Eventually, Lewis received Monica's letter. She congratulated him on the new baby and mentioned she'd become the student council treasurer. He thought she deserved praise for being the first to congratulate him. Still, he hadn't expected her to join the student council. Rin asked why he chose Monica to guard the second prince. Lewis deflected the question, asking instead for her opinion of him. Rin then replied he seemed to be venting his frustration on Monica, especially since the prince ruined the barrier he stayed up all night preparing. He then asked for her honest opinion of him, and she answered she'd heard he was a troubled man who enjoyed picking on the weak. However, Lewis felt people had him mistaken, because he believed bullying the strong was more fun than bullying the weak. Rin then claimed Monica believed she became one of the 7 sages as a last resort, and Lewis agreed, recalling how during her interview, she got so nervous she hyperventilated, her eyes rolled back, and she passed out. Still, one thing was certain to him: Monica was a monster. Rin asked if Monica was stronger than him, and Lewis simply replied, well, who knows? Either way, he understood that His Majesty wanted to monitor the second prince. Felix was a capable man who had gained the trust of nobles everywhere. Above all, he had the backing of Duke Clockford, the most powerful noble in the country. It was obvious he was seen as the next king, but to Lewis, he was an enigma. Felix couldn't be beaten with simple tricks. He was too cunning, hence why Lewis loved to bully the strong. Of course, Rin now saw her master as a troubled man who enjoyed bullying the strong. Back in the student council office, Elliot grumbled about cleaning up after Professor Thornley. Cyril reminded him that with broken trust, they had to stay sharp. Felix asked Monica to greet the club leaders on his behalf. She panicked, feeling this was impossible, but Cyril offered to go with her. Everyone was surprised he was offering. However, he said Monica deserved to be introduced as the new treasurer. Nervous, Monica forced the words out of her mouth. "I will do my best." She and Cyril then proceeded to greet the club leaders. Suddenly, screams echoed through the town as chaos broke out. A monster was on a rampage. Monica used her magic to identify it. An earth dragon. Nero complained, annoyed that a dragon showed up when he only came for food. Glenn Dudley appeared and hurled a fireball at the dragon, but it had no effect. As he flew into the air, Nero asked why he wasn't attacking from above. Monica explained that using 2 spells at once was hard. She made it look easy, so Nero assumed all mages could do it. While Glenn chanted again, Monica cast her own spell. His magic caused a smoke screen, letting her strike in secret and finish the monster. The knights of the city rushed to Glenn, praising him for defeating it. With the fight over, Monica told Nero to get his heavy head off of hers, but he just rubbed his head against hers like the cat boy he was, asking for chicken as a reward. Before she could ponder if any shops were open, vendors loudly announced they were back in business. Seeing this, Nero thought humans were surprisingly resilient, but Monica doubted herself. He then pulled her head up, commenting she wasn't afraid of his human form anymore, and she hesitated, but then admitted maybe she had gotten a bit tougher. Over in the teacher's office, Lindsay Pale was distressed because she had to take care of Thornley's class in his place. Just then, William McCracken, the Waterbite Mage, was introduced as the new fundamental magecraft teacher. William served as an honorary professor at Minerva, the top mage training institute. Even the Silent Witch and Barrier Mage studied under him before becoming part of the 7 sages. But he complained being an honorary professor was nothing but boring. Inside the student council office, Glenn asked Monica if she'd picked her elective classes yet. She hadn't. Elliot then asked whether she could play any instruments, since art was considered a noble pursuit, but she had no experience in that either. Cyril, however, was placed in the advanced practical magecraft class, which he also viewed as a noble pursuit. He and Elliot exchanged tense looks, disagreeing with each other. Out of nowhere, Felix commented on Cyril's lovely singing voice, catching him off guard. He'd often heard Cyril singing in the archive room. Felix then asked if he could hear him sing properly one day, and flustered, Cyril quickly left to fetch some papers. Turning to Elliot, Felix praised his violin skills, and said he'd like to see him play with Cyril. Since Monica hadn't picked her electives yet, he recommended she choose magecraft. She felt nervous, and unsure of what to say. Then, Monica recalled Lewis's tip to say, "I'll think about it," during tough moments. When Felix asked to show her the class, she replied, "Okay, I'll think about it." And so he decided to fetch her the next day, and Monica unknowingly agreed. The next day, Monica walked quietly beside Felix. She asked if he also did magecraft, but the prince admitted he had no talent. Soon after, they ran into Neil and Glenn. Glenn looked thrilled to meet the prince, and Monica remembered he was the one who battled the Earth Dragon in town. The boy introduced himself as a recent transfer this fall, and Neil's classmate. When Monica introduced herself, Glenn shook her hand so hard it startled her. He then gave her some roasted nuts from the nearby town. Felix mentioned an Earth Dragon had appeared there earlier, but was defeated by a passing mage. Glenn flinched, and quickly acted like he didn't know anything about it. Glenn asked Monica which elective she chose, and Felix said he was taking her to Magecraft class. Since Glenn and Neil were headed there too, they all walked together. As they arrived, Monica told herself to relax, thinking no one recognized her. But when the doors opened and she saw Professor McCracken, all her hopes vanished. Fortunately, his bad vision kept him from recognizing anyone. Felix told him they were 3 newbies, and the professor urged them to take a seat wherever. Class began, and McCracken explained that mana was a mage's most important trait. A normal level was 50, but going beyond 100 was impressive. If you reached 150 or more, you could join the 7 sages. Meanwhile, Monica was losing it. When McCracken brought up the Silent Witch, her panic only got worse. At some point, she felt McCracken was exaggerating her accomplishments, even using the formulas she created for them to memorize for the upcoming exam. The professor continued, saying one who had talent for mana manipulation techniques could use Magecraft even if they didn't understand formulas. He turned them towards the mana measuring device. When he placed his hand on it, it read 160. The blue glow showed his affinity was water. Then, he told the class it was their turn. Glenn lit up, thinking this could be his path to joining the 7 sages. However, Monica recalled the last time she measured her power, it was 202, and she was still growing. While the other students started measuring theirs, Monica hid by the side. Just before she could escape, McCracken noticed her and felt she was familiar. As the professor got close to her, the device cracked from Glenn's overwhelming mana. While McCracken complained about the costs, Monica quietly slipped away. Once at a distance, she remembered the reading had shown Glenn's mana level was over 250. Even amongst the 7 sages, there were only 2 people with a level that high. Suddenly, someone shouted, "I lost!" Curious, Monica went to see what was happening and found students playing chess. She had no idea what it was. Elliot suddenly appeared behind her, making her jolt. Seeing Monica didn't know how to play, he grabbed her and took her in. After sitting down, she asked how someone could win, and Elliot laughed, saying the goal was to capture the king, like regular chess. He compared chess to be like war, and nobles had to learn strategy. Since Monica was keen to war and battle, she thought the game would be easy. So, they played. Elliot chose the handicap by playing without his queen, but by the end of their game, he ended up winning using a castling technique he hadn't taught her. When Elliot explained his technique, she admitted defeat. A huge man then came to their table and asked Monica's name. Scared stiff, she stuttered until Elliot said her name, and the man handed her a letter, urging her to attend class. Back in her room, Monica was still stunned. Nero used his soft paws to bring her back to her senses. She definitely couldn't take the Magecraft class because of McCracken. Crying, she asked Nero what to do, and he offered to pat her with his paws. The following day, she went over her moves in chess, because she had a lot of fun playing. Elliot then interrupted, asking Cyril about his weird drawing. He explained it was a bowl and a wheel, but it definitely didn't look like it. He then told Marie he was trying to draw the merchant's crest. And looking at it, she knew the drawing was nothing like the crest, but was too scared to speak. Monica then showed them the actual Abbott Company crest. Elliot asked Monica to accompany him to meet the merchants, and as they left, Cyril watched them. But Bridget commented he was being overprotective. While outside, Elliot was feeling bad about using the castling move during the chess game, and felt it was disgraceful for a noble. When he tried to talk about it to Monica, she blurted out, "The crest is different." She saw the crest before them had 10 axles instead of 12, and assured Elliot she never forgot what she saw. He told her to get the guards while he stalled. Meanwhile, the fake merchant moved in with a dagger, but Elliot declared it was his duty as a noble to protect commoners. As he rushed onward, Monica used lightning magic to make a horse go on a rampage. The horse knocked the imposters to the ground, and Monica put them to sleep. But the horse was still out of control, heading straight toward her. As it sped past, she screamed for her life while Elliot was rushing to protect her. Some other girl swooped in and got the horse under control. After that, Elliot locked up the imposters and went to call the guards. Monica thanked the girl for her help, and the girl introduced herself as Casey Grove. Casey gently calmed the horses and encouraged Monica to pet one. And while petting the horse, Monica apologized for hurting it earlier. When Monica spoke formally, Casey just told her to keep it casual. Back in her hometown, Casey used to help load animals onto wagon, just like an Old Man Sam's Pig song. She assumed Monica wouldn't know it, but Monica did, thanks to its beautiful sequence of numbers. Shortly, Casey pulled Monica towards a wagon. When Monica looked up, a golden sunset filled the sky. Casey asked if she'd like to take horse riding classes together. Monica hesitated, thinking about her poor condition, but Casey said beginners were welcome and joked she'd be a second teacher if Monica joined now. Monica wanted to try something new and asked Casey if she could learn horse riding. So Casey took on the task. Back in her room, Monica was fast asleep on her table, and Nero was surprised to see she had chosen chess and horse riding as her elective lessons. In her office, Lindsay was distressed, thinking students who got into this academy were supposed to know how to dance, at least a little bit. Meanwhile, Glenn spun Monica so quickly during their dancing practice that she begged him to stop. When he stopped, Monica was already rolling along the ground and was too dizzy to stand straight. Neil then said they had to figure it out, so Casey suggested they switch partners until they've learnt the steps. She decided to dance with Glenn, while Neil paired up with Monica. Soon after, Lana showed up, offering to play the piano for them. When Glenn asked if Monica was friends with her, Monica unknowingly admitted it before realizing. Later, Neil told Felix that Monica could only pass the dance retest depending on how much they practiced. Cyril claimed if Neil was speaking frantically like this, then it must be a complete disaster. Still, Felix was sure Monica would pass. He gently lifted her face and asked, "You'll live up to my expectations, won't you?" Nervous, she started calculating the dance tempo in her head until Cyril told her to stop thinking and just move her body. While massaging Monica's back, Nero remarked that he'd read about dancing and assumed it was a contest to see who could step on their partner's feet the most. Monica tried to explain otherwise, but he still didn't understand. Hearing the prince had expectations of her made Monica think of her father, how he had strived to meet everyone's hopes and cure human illness. Yet, in the end, he was burned at the stake. By trying to meet everyone's expectations, Monica discovered enchanted mage craft, but she felt it would have been better if no one expected anything from her, and just wanted to be in the mountain hut, buried in numbers. Thinking of all the new friends she made, she suddenly felt the urge to practice her dancing. So, Nero shifted into his human form and offered to help. She doubted he could dance, but his effortless moves proved her wrong. The next day, Monica's whole body ached. Nero could dance well, but she kept stepping on and kicking him. Lindsay shortly showed them the group assignments for the tea party, another compulsory course to pass, just like the ballroom dance. Isabel was excited and eager to help Monica get through the class. She explained that tea was all about personal preference. There was no wrong choice. The only mistake was bringing the same type as someone else. Isabel then asked Monica if she could find out what the others planned to bring. While Monica knew Lana and Casey were assigned to her table, she didn't know the third person, which made things a bit difficult. Regardless, Isabel assured Monica she would have the perfect tea ready. She showed Monica what the typical behaviors of a villainous noblewoman were like, but Monica didn't think she could handle it. Then, Casey arrived, suggesting they brew their tea together, since everyone else had their servants handle it. She then placed name tags under their tea, so no one would mistake it for theirs. When the bell rang, Casey urged they hurry before Claudia could throw in any snide remarks. Claudia, the member Monica had forgotten, was a super clever girl who read all the time, known as the walking library, according to Casey. At the table, they nervously stared at Claudia as she robotically said, "Enjoy your tea." Claudia was different from any of the villainous noble ladies Isabel had told Monica about. Lana and Casey tried to make small talk with Claudia, but she replied to them coldly, mocking them with elegance. Lana's tea was served, and they all commented on how tasty it was, except Claudia, who said starting with a strong flavor ruined the palate. She added it would have been the perfect choice if they were serving noble ladies, but here it was out of place, and that bringing such tea could be taken as an insult, even though the other girls didn't see it that way. Lana was fed up and called her out for her snide remarks, but Claudia continued, asking, "You really think you're worth anyone wasting their breath on you?" Monica jolted when Claudia started talking about the silent witch, calling her a very wise person who must have understood the value of silence. But Monica thought, "I'm just an introverted, shy loner." With Claudia noticing Monica and the silent witch had similar names, she asked if Monica remained silent because she didn't want to waste words on fools. Hearing this, Monica scurried off to go and make the tea. She hoped Claudia hadn't figured out she was the silent witch, assuming it was mere coincidence. Then, she saw her tea leaves tossed into the trash. Casey entered, noticing what happened, and asked Monica if she had any spare tea, but she didn't. Casey offered Monica her own tea, assuring her it didn't matter if they served the same kind. What mattered was making the tea party fun and delicious, but suddenly Monica ran off, telling Casey to return without her. Not long after Casey returned, Monica arrived, wobbling slightly as she carried a tray of coffee. Since she was serving last, she didn't think its strong flavor would matter. Casey and Lana loved it, and Monica explained she brewed it fast with her special pot, avoiding any harsh taste. Claudia argued that serving anything other than tea was unacceptable. Still, Monica only wanted to share something she loved with her friends. Lana, touched by her sincerity, teared up and downed her coffee in one go. With the tea party over, Monica just had to get through the dance retest. She had no idea what to do, but Casey was going to help her. Stepping into the dance room, Monica froze at the sight of Felix and Cyril. The prince told her he wouldn't be so heartless as to burden her with all his expectations. As for Cyril, the prince didn't remember inviting him and suspected he had come to watch her from the beginning. Playing off why he was here, Cyril called out to Glenn for lacking in his dance skills. He then graced himself before Monica, telling her, "May I have this dance, my lady?" before taking her hand, properly guiding her as they danced. She was shocked that she somehow knew where to go. This wasn't the Cyril she knew, but all the numbers in his body assured her it was him. After that, Cyril yelled at Glenn, saying, "That's how you lead a lady." He added that in ballroom dancing, everything came down to how well the man led, and Monica was relieved he was back to his normal self, fidgeting her fingers nervously. Felix told her to take notes from Cyril, then turned to Monica and asked her to dance. Flustered, she fumbled to take his hand, so he smoothly caught her by the waist instead, leaving her even more stunned than she'd been with Cyril. As they danced, the prince told her not to think about the steps and just chat with him naturally. Looking closely at her eyes, he could see the slight tint of green, comparing it to sunlight filtering through a dense forest. Monica looked happy as she spoke about the comb Lana chose for her, and Felix had never seen this expression on her before. Monica's eyes caught the prince's green brooch, and she wondered if it could serve as a reflective barrier. Lost in her mental calculations, she barely noticed the dance ending. Casey then praised her for truly dancing in the second half, but of course, Monica didn't even realize she'd been dancing. Her mind was elsewhere. She explained how Felix's brooch had distracted her, leaving the others in disbelief. Felix wondered if Monica found chatting with him unnecessary. Flustered, she claimed his brooch was the reason she danced well, and Cyril yelled at her to properly thank the prince. Monica's classmates celebrated her passing her exams. While enjoying their grilled meat, Prince Felix approached them, saying they needed permission to grill on school grounds. Surprisingly, he joined in on the celebration, leaving everyone shocked. Later, Rin gave Monica a gift from Lewis, rewarding her for capturing Thornley. Monica chose to write him a thank you letter. After learning she'd also dealt with an intruder, Rin explained that Lewis's barrier blocked outside threats, but was weak against internal disruptions. Monica figured Lewis must have hidden the formula for the barrier somewhere in the academy. According to Rin, Lewis said his defense barrier was filled with traps, and he challenged Monica to try rewriting the formula. On her way to the student council, Monica was startled seeing Claudia, who was staring at her. Apparently, they'd been running into each other a lot lately. Nervous, Monica quickly passed by, trying not to draw attention to herself. However, she'd end up running into Caroline and her friends. As Monica slowly backed away, Caroline invited her to a tea party. Monica thought she should be able to handle it. After all, she was a member of the student council. There, Caroline recalled Monica being pushed down the stairs. Seeing Monica was alright, Caroline asked her to tell Cyril that it was just an accident. But if Monica did this, it would ruin what Cyril had done for her. Jittering, she replied she didn't want to do that, and felt very proud of herself. But when she looked up, Caroline was staring at her menacingly. As Monica picked up the tea to drink, the other girl subtly snickered. She noticed the tea was bitter, and wondered if it was a special kind. She then drank the entire cup, leaving the girls shocked. Suddenly, Monica's vision turned red, pulling her back to the day her father was burned alive. She only stood there, frozen, as the townspeople called him a heretic. Watching his books burn, she struggled to recall the numbers he left behind. She wanted to preserve the memory of his life, while she spent her days memorizing numbers. Her drunk uncle blamed her father for ruining his business. The students then gathered, seeing Monica passed out on the ground. Claudia rushed in, confronting Caroline, and pulling out the poison she used from her pockets, even though Caroline tried claiming they were just normal eye drops. Claudia forced Monica to throw up, then asked for someone to call the medical office and the student council. Soon after, Monica felt a warm hand on hers, and she thought it was her father. But she opened her eyes to see Felix and Cyril by her side. Monica bowed low, apologizing for all the trouble she caused. Felix urged her to look at him, but guilt weighed her down. especially being a student council member. Cyril then picked her up, reminding her that she was the victim in all this. He then put Monica in bed, tucked her in, and threatened to tie her to it if she tried leaving. Claudia then appeared, referring to Cyril as her big brother. Felix thanked her for saving Monica, but her flat reply annoyed Cyril. She'd answer to him, saying she refused to wag her tail like a dog, unlike him. And this definitely flustered Cyril. As the two boys left, Claudia teased him about worrying so much over Monica. She then told Monica she was lucky to survive the poison while calling her a little kid. After calling her a little kid multiple times, Monica told her to stop. Claudia then said she didn't want Monica seeing her as a savior, and Monica assumed it was because Claudia hated her. But Claudia explained she didn't hate her. She didn't like her either though. So, Monica wondered why Claudia had been following her, fearing she might have found out her true identity. But Claudia got in her face and told her, "You seduced my fiancé." Startled, Monica thought she meant Felix. As Monica tried to explain, Glenn and Neil barged in. Glenn asked if Claudia and Monica knew each other, and Claudia suddenly said they were friends. With Neil complimenting Claudia's treatment methods, she finally let off a smile, and then blurted that she was Neil's fiancé. Neil tried explaining it was an arranged marriage, and that he didn't feel they were a proper match. However, Claudia asked Monica if they were a cute couple, backing it up with a sharp look that demanded agreement. Casey then burst in, confused by the scene. Recalling how devastated Monica was, Felix was reminded of his past self, and he expressed he had a hard time stomaching what had just happened. Cyril informed him that the culprits were waiting to be questioned, and Isabel also wanted to speak with Caroline as well. Caroline and her cohorts were anxious, but she tried to calm herself, believing her father would simply take care of everything. When Felix entered, Caroline was scared to meet his eyes, but slowly lifting her head, she saw him smiling and believed he would be on her side. Then, Felix asked her to explain why she attempted to poison Monica. Caroline claimed it was a prank, explaining the eye drops could be used as a pick-me-up. But according to what Cyril heard from Claudia, the eye drops at that grade were meant to be used for eye surgery. Caroline tried saying she didn't know and begged Felix to believe her. Then, Felix asked if she did it to embarrass Monica. Caroline became speechless and distraught. But as Isabel entered, Caroline felt Isabel would at least support her, since she supposedly hated Monica. Isabel apologized on behalf of the house of Count Kerbeck and offered them tea, brought in by Agatha. Suddenly, she pulled out a vial, claiming it was good for beauty, and put drops in the tea. This horrified Caroline. Caroline's friends turned to her, as if expecting her to take the lead. She believed Isabel had to be bluffing, but as she took a sip, Caroline quickly spat it all out, saying it was poisoned. So, Isabel put more drops in her cup and drank it, proving that it was simply meant for beauty. While Monica had bad etiquette, Isabel mocked Caroline for being even worse, especially in front of the prince. Isabel said she'd report the poisoning to her father, as it involved her family. This could strain ties between the Kerbeck and Norn families. The Kerbeck soldiers were the only ones able to repel dragon raids in the east, and Felix wondered if Norn could hold out until reinforcements from the capital arrived. Hearing all this, Caroline shivered in a cold sweat. Her actions would bring ruin to her homeland. Isabel told her to warn every friend in the dorm. This is what happens when you make an enemy of the house of Count Kerbeck. The other students were too stunned to speak as Isabel left, but she had made up her mind to make sure no one else would harm Monica, since she had vowed to repay the Silent Witch's kindness. Isabel then asked Agatha to arrange for an extra bed so they could look after Monica properly, and so, Monica ended up receiving care in Isabel's room for a week. After recovering, Monica returned to the attic, only to see Rin, who had been waiting for her all this time. Monica apologized, explaining what had happened, and Rin wondered why the Silent Witch almost got killed by poison. But even Monica didn't have the answer for that. Rin gave Monica some letters that had arrived while she was away. Monica read them and realized it was Lana's handwriting. She placed the letters safely in the drawer, smiling happily at how much her friend cared for her. Later, she went out with Casey and Lana to a restaurant. Monica was then startled seeing Claudia join them. Claudia didn't give her a choice but to accept they were friends, remarking that she was Monica's lifesaver. When their food came, Monica noted it was very tasty. As Casey ate her grilled fish with her hands, Claudia commented that only commoners ate like that. But Casey interjected, saying everyone ate like this where she came from. She then asked what Claudia would watch at the school festival, and with a cold look, Claudia replied she would be staying in her room until the start of the ball, since Neil was so busy she didn't see any point in taking part in the festival. Lana reminded them the school play was the highlight of the event, and she was in charge of the costumes. This year, there would even be fireworks. She invited Monica and Casey to watch it with her, hoping to intrigue Claudia, but she remained unfazed. Casey displayed some embroidery she planned to donate to the charity bazaar. When the others admired it, she offered to make something for them as well. Monica hesitated, saying Casey was already teaching her horseback riding, but Casey insisted this was simply a favor. On their way out, Cyril called Monica, stating the council needed help moving some materials. When he mentioned the plans, Claudia called him careless. Seeing that Neil and Bridget would be working together, she moved to interrupt them, but Cyril stopped her. When Monica addressed Cyril as Lord Ashley, Claudia teased him, pointing out she was already on a first-name basis with Monica, unlike him, who was just an ordinary acquaintance. After much teasing, Cyril then told Monica to call him by his first name, and she did nervously, fidgeting her fingers like usual. Meanwhile, Nero was hunting for dinner when he detected a Mana reaction. There, he saw Felix telling Elliot to show the traders around while he prepared the reception. Elsewhere, Cyril informed Monica that the stage designer would soon arrive to inspect the materials. But before long, Casey rushed over, saying the designer was caught up in an argument with the historical accuracy team, so she had come in his place. Casey decided to handle the counting and asked Monica to cross-check with the list. During the work, some planks got untied and nearly crushed Casey, but Monica quickly used wind magic to save her. Casey was frozen in fear as Monica and Cyril quickly went to check on her. Cyril then asked Monica to take her to the infirmary while he tidied up. On their way, Monica mentioned that the ropes holding the planks had shallow cuts, probably to make it look like an accident. Given what happened last time with the traders, people with blades weren't allowed in, which led Monica to question if Casey had cut the ropes herself. Casey laughed, admitting it was her. She then explained she was aiming for Monica because she despised her, and had even hated her since the first day they met. Monica couldn't believe this. She felt this had to be a lie, and thought Casey must have been hiding something, but Casey said she wasn't. Casey also admitted to throwing away Monica's tea during the tea party, but Monica already knew that, since Casey was the only one who had seen her write her name under the pot of tea. Suddenly, Nero leapt through the window, warning Monica of a strange mana surge at the West Warehouse. Concentrating, Monica sensed fire energy twisting into a spiral, and knew this was a spiral flame spell. When Casey asked how she knew, Monica questioned if she aimed to kill the prince. At the warehouse, Mabel tried to persuade Felix to play the king in the final scene of the play, and also said Eliane wanted him to play the part as well. Hearing this, Felix took it as an obstruction to the student council's duties, so sadly, Mabel left with no success. Willdenu then asked Felix if this was a wise decision, considering Eliane was one of his potential fiancées. But the prince didn't care much for a prearranged future. Regardless, he had to become king, even if people called him Duke Clockford's puppet. That was the same reason Casey couldn't allow Felix to become king. She claimed if he did, Duke Clockford would start a war with the Kingdom of Landor. When Casey heard a mage dealt with the dragon attack in Crame, it made her jealous. Her city had no money or soldiers, so a dragon devastated her and her people. And even then, the country did nothing to help them. Instead, it was Landor who secretly came to their aid, which is why Casey could never forgive Duke Clockford and the Second Prince. Monica begged her to stop the spiral flame, but Casey said she would never, even if she was tortured. Tears filled Monica's eyes. If she did nothing now, she would never be able to live with herself. She steeled her resolve, determined to fulfill her role as a silent witch and protect Felix. She told Nero she was going to attack the academy to trigger Lewis's barrier. Then, he would have to find its activation point. After unleashing her spell, Nero quickly detected the point was in an old garden, but Casey rushed forward with her blade, refusing to let them leave. However, Nero would disarm her quickly, and even through this, Casey claimed there was nothing Monica could do. But Monica wasn't going to give up. On the way to the garden, Casey noticed something similar about Monica's side profile. Casey had 3 older brothers. The first was dropped from a great height by a tarot dragon, instantly killing him. Her second brother was torn apart by a red dragon, and the last burned by the fiery breath of a red dragon as well. Looking at Monica, she could see the determination to fight, the same determination her brothers once had. As Monica located the barrier's activation point, she decided to overwrite it to include an anti-spiral flame formula. Then, she recalled Rin saying it was laced with traps. At that moment, Nero saved them from the wild vines that sprang up. Looking at the plants, Monica insisted the barrier couldn't have been created by Lewis alone. Only the Witch of Thorns could make them grow this fast. When the plants attacked, Monica raised a barrier to shield herself. Casey, astonished, had no idea Monica was this talented. With time running out, Monica unleashed a greater spell, causing a silver gate to appear as she summoned the Spirit King. Although she could cast most spells without chanting, some chants could not be omitted. Words had to be offered to summon this being. The words Ralph, the first king and hero of Redil, spoke when he slew the evil dragon became known as ritual chanting. And so, Monica summoned the Wind Spirit King, Sheffield. With the vines cut, she rushed to rewrite the formula, but time was running out, and at the last second, she completed it before the spiral flame could fully explode. Casey realized she couldn't see Monica's true nature. She told Monica to hate her because she was a cruel criminal who tried to take the life of the future king. Sensing incoming trouble, Nero quickly ran away, leaving Monica to deal with it. Suddenly, Lewis landed on the scene after sensing something was wrong with his barrier, and the culprit was right before him. Lewis was surprised to see Monica was running low on mana. He then turned to Casey, who revealed herself as the foolish enemy who tried to assassinate Prince Felix. Then, Monica explained how she borrowed his barrier to deactivate the spiral flame. Not only did she summon the Spirit King, but she rewrote his formula in nearly a minute. Hearing this, Lewis decided she would be his first suspect if any of his barriers were tampered with again. As for Casey, he planned to interrogate and even use mind manipulation magecraft if she refused to talk. Lewis felt it would be kinder if she never woke up, since the result of attempting to assassinate the royal family was the death penalty. Monica then asked if he supported the first prince, and Lewis confirmed it, saying First Prince Lionel was his school friend. Though it didn't mean he wanted Lionel to become king. He simply supported the first prince because he neither liked Duke Clockford nor Prince Felix. Monica then explained Casey was from the first prince's faction connected to Landor, and since the first prince's mother was from Landor, it would look bad for his supporters to have attempted to take the second prince's life. Lewis didn't expect Monica to be this perspicacious, but she wanted him to act like nothing had happened. He replied that neither the first prince nor his mother cared about the throne, but it was those supporters who recklessly attempted assassinations that should be purged. Still, Monica insisted on keeping this a secret, so Lewis decided not to use mind manipulation magecraft. Only if Casey confessed, he would send her to a convent, and she'd never be allowed to step foot in society again. Monica seemed to be happy enough with this. However, Lewis reminded her she was one of the 7 sages, Monica Everett, and that Monica Norton was only a temporary disguise. As he went to fix the barrier, Casey confronted Monica. She wasn't about to apologize or show gratitude. After all, she was the enemy, and she'd also point out she wasn't Monica's friend. But to this, Monica cried helplessly. She was by far the most kind-hearted of the 7 sages. Casey demanded Monica hate her, or at least forget about her, but Monica refused while her tears continued flowing. As Casey was taken away, she apologized for not taking Monica horseback riding and teaching her embroidery, and Monica sadly watched as Casey bid her farewell. Lewis advised her to control her emotions better and hit her face with a handkerchief. He got the handkerchief from his wife for his birthday, so he demanded Monica wash and iron it before returning. Meanwhile, Wildenu informed Felix about the Spirit King being summoned. Felix headed to the garden where the barrier was set up, believing it should have triggered if there was an emergency. There, he overheard Lewis saying it was the Silent Witch who summoned the Spirit King. Felix wanted to see the beautiful magecraft and meet the Silent Witch. He couldn't believe she was so close all along. Lady Everett was someone he was truly passionate about, ever since he watched her slay a herd of tarot dragons some time ago. 3 days later, Isabel tried to leave her room, but Agatha refused her because she was sick. Isabel was frustrated after being cooped up in bed and not being able to see Monica for 3 days. But Agatha would ignore it, sticking a thermometer in her mouth and showing her she still had a fever, and threw Isabel back in bed as she begged to be set free. Later, Lana approached a glooming-looking Monica while walking through the halls. She mentioned how lonely it was with Casey gone, and felt bad she didn't say anything before leaving. So, Lana suggested they send her a letter, but Monica was too deep in sadness to hear her. She then asked what Monica would be wearing to the ball after the school festival. Seeing Monica plan to wear her uniform, Lana offered to give one of her dresses. Monica felt bad for not being able to do anything for Lana in return, but Lana pointed out that one didn't need a reason to be kind to friends. Hearing this lifted up Monica's spirit a bit. However, during horse riding lessons, she was so nervous that she fell off as soon as they started. She wanted to be good at horseback riding, so she could show it to Casey someday. Just then, Felix approached, surprised to see her here. He guided her on how to ride a horse properly, fixing her posture and gaze. Monica felt it was just like ballroom dancing. Keeping your back straight really helped a lot. Felix then asked why she chose chess and horseback riding, and Monica answered she had a friend whom she wanted to tell she could ride a horse. Since coming to the academy, so many people have helped her, and Monica wondered what she could do for them in return. Recalling Lana's words, she wondered if one day she would become strong enough to say something like that to someone as well. After that, she had a chess match with Elliot. He felt bad for not telling her about the castling move during their last match, believing he played unfairly. Though he claimed it was shameful, Monica didn't see any reason to be upset. All she cared about was learning the game. While they played, Elliot recalled his younger days with Prince Felix. Felix was so weak, he couldn't use a sword, couldn't ballroom dance, and was bad at studying too, even though someday he'd have to lead others. On the other hand, the servant who taught him to ride a horse carried himself with far more dignity. Shortly after, Elliot told Felix to stop crying over a book, but he wouldn't stop. So, Elliot pointed to a book stuck in a tree, asking if Felix would get it or just go crying to his servant as always. Felix then climbed to get the book, but sadly fell and started bleeding out a lot. Elliot's father beat him and told him to apologize with his life. But Felix would stop him, claiming it wasn't Elliot's fault. He took the blame, saying Elliot only tried to save him. Furious, Elliot confronted Felix later, asking why he covered for him. But Felix claimed he only fell because he was bad at climbing trees, so he didn't see a reason to blame Elliot. Then, Elliot decided to teach him how to climb properly once he was better. This helped Elliot realize why Felix always interfered with Monica. Meanwhile, Bridget informed Cyril that the professor wanted him to sort out the incident earlier by the end of the day. Seeing Monica returned, Cyril told her to review the documents she had missed. She didn't know if it was anemia, but Monica hadn't been sleeping well and assumed her mana hadn't recovered yet. Neil could clearly tell she wasn't fine as she staggered and rested on Cyril's back unknowingly. She quickly apologized when she realized, but surprisingly, Cyril would bow and express remorse for not checking the logs, which nearly crushed Casey earlier. People blamed him for it, even though it was Casey's fault. Monica fell to her knees, crying bitterly and apologizing because she couldn't tell them the truth about Casey. She blamed herself for not confessing when Casey threw her tea away. Maybe then she might have given up on trying to assassinate Felix. When Monica fell asleep, Claudia was called to help take her back to the girls' dormitory. She clarified that she wasn't some fix-it-all maid, but when Neil begged her with a cute expression, she quickly agreed. Meanwhile, in her observatory, the Starseer witch, Mary Harvey, couldn't get a clear vision on the signs about Prince Felix. What would happen next was something she couldn't predict. Back at Minerva, Bernie thought he was special with his talent. He believed he could pave a path for himself in this world, even though he was a second son. No matter what it took, he was going to carve out a place for himself amongst the 7 sages. He then came across some bullies trying to shove a spider down Monica's throat, and he stopped them with his fire magic. Seeing how they picked on the weak, he claimed they weren't the same type of noble as himself. Being number 1 in practical skills, there was no way they could beat him. After they ran away, Monica offered him what little money she had, but Bernie belonged to the noble house of Count Amber. There's no way he'd take her money. When she apologized for being a burden, he corrected her. She was supposed to say thanks. That made her smile. Days later, Monica ran to Bernie, asking for help with an assignment. Though she was brilliant at magecraft formulas and math, she was a total disaster when it came to general studies. Bernie had taken care of her since the day he saved her, and she had come to rely on him. The next day, she came complaining about her practical magecraft class. She was too scared to speak in front of others. So, Bernie proposed she used quick chanting, and even though she argued that was for experts, not someone like her, he had faith she would grasp it in no time. Now in the present, Monica had been selected alongside Elliot as one of the representatives for a chess tournament. It was an honor to be chosen, but she didn't have happy memories with this type of thing. Rewinding back 2 years ago, she belonged to Rutherford's lab at the Minerva's Mage Training Institution. There, Professor Gideon Rutherford told her to join the 7 Sages selection meeting. She was completely flustered and went to hide behind the curtains. Regardless, Rutherford took Monica along, even still wrapped up. He pretty much tossed her into the 7 Sages selection meeting. During the interview, Monica made such a blunder by fainting, but she was still chosen to be one of the 7 Sages, and there were 2 people she wanted to tell all about it. The first was her foster mother. The second was her one and only friend. Monica hadn't seen him in a while and wondered if he would praise her when she told him the news. At the student council office, she decided to take her work back to the dorm and do it. But with the chess tournament coming up, Cyril told her to simply focus on chess in order to not disgrace his highness. Felix revealed he had participated in the tournament last year, and everyone helped him out with the student council work, so now he wanted to help her as well. Monica and Elliot then met up with their third teammate, the eccentric Benjamin Mording, who rambled on about how chess was like music. He described Elliot's chess as one with a military march-like rhythm, while Monica's was like a suite performed by an orchestra. In other words, he was trying to say that Monica should be the captain of the team, but she was too scared for that. She argued she was still an amateur, but Benjamin said the best player should be the captain. He wasn't lying or being modest, and went ahead quoting his family motto, "Even if you lie to debt collectors and your lover, never lie to music or chess." Speculating it'd be hard to change the order now, Elliot decided to remain as the captain of the team. He explained that there were high expectations for the team. After all, they crushed it last year. The previous team consisted of Felix and Neil from the student council. Neil played by attacking his opponent's weak spots relentlessly. His style was like improvisation. Benjamin then explained that Felix's chess was similar to Monica's, a play style that used all kinds of tactics to slaughter the king by any means. Monica was thinking about facing Felix when Lana suddenly interrupted, asking if she wanted to go shopping. Monica replied it'd be difficult, and Claudia assumed it was because of the chess tournament. Hearing this, Lana was eager to come cheer Monica on. She also mentioned Claudia was part of the previous year's team. Neil had asked her to play, so she agreed. Considering last year was a landslide victory, Monica thought Claudia must be really good. As for the other teams, it was the three major prestigious schools as last year, which included the University and Minerva. Hearing this, Monica's fork slipped and fell to the ground. Her hands trembled, trying to pick it up, as her mind flashed back to Bernie, and she began crying. Seeing her reaction, Claudia figured she must have had a bad history with someone from one of the schools. Lana then asked Monica to come to her room on the morning of the tournament. We again flash back to Minerva, when Monica was excited to tell Bernie she had become one of the 7 sages. But he felt she was taking him for a fool, or maybe being sarcastic, and now believed Monica had always known enchanted magecraft. Even though he took the time to teach her quick chanting, Monica tried saying she was only able to push herself because of what he taught her, and that he was important to her, but he would cut her off, saying he'd barely even call her a friend. Bernie asked if she simply liked looking down on him, referring to her as Miss 7 Sage. Monica broke down in tears, but he would call her pathetic and say it was hardly befitting of one of the 7 sages. Leaving, he added she'd be better off shutting herself away in a lonely mountain hut. Those memories still brought tears to Monica in her sleep. Waking up, she would be greeted by Rin, dressed up in a school uniform, and shortly after, Nero, who also showed up in uniform as well. In light of the recent terrorist act, Rin had been ordered to help with Monica's protection mission. She brought up a scene from a novel where the heroine was harassed, only to be saved by the man she secretly loved. Rin told Monica they'd reenact the scene, along with a spicy love triangle between the 3 of them, if she ever ran into trouble. But Monica warned that in their uniforms, their mid-20s looks would draw unwanted attention. Later, in Lana's room, she was trying to dress Monica in a tight corset. Lana then changed Monica's hairstyle and added makeup in case there was someone she didn't want to see at the tournament. She then put on a pair of glasses that completely changed Monica's vibe. In the student council office, Elliot said the glasses made Monica look like a second year in the upper division. Then, she explained that she simply wore them because they made her look like she was good at chess. They then went to greet the guests from the university and Minerva. Monica froze in fear, seeing Bernie Jones, who introduced himself as the representative for Minerva. As Felix introduced his representatives, Monica did her best to maintain her composure as she shook Bernie's hand. In the bathroom, her hands still trembled. She hoped if she kept her posture straight, Bernie wouldn't realize who she was. Exiting the bathroom, Monica immediately bumped into him. Even though Bernie had pushed her away before, she was so happy to talk to him again. He then asked for a moment, noticing she had the same name as an old acquaintance. Sadly, he didn't refer to her as a friend anymore. He would then ask if she'd been at Serendia Academy for a while, and quickly questioned why she wasn't answering. Monica sensed his anger, feeling she had to apologize and ask for his forgiveness. Nero and Rin would then show up to save her, declaring, "Don't lay a hand on my woman." Rin called love triangles elegant in form, but quadrangles a bit over the top, basically telling Bernie to get lost. Confused by what they were wearing, Monica listened as Rin proudly explained their improved outfits. The perfect disguise. Monica wanted to thank them, yet instead pleaded from the bottom of her heart for them to return being a cat and a bird. Monica's opponent was sweating, The head of the university couldn't believe she only started playing chess 2 weeks ago, and the losing Robert was their best player. She then checkmated him, and that was it. At the post-match banquet, she earned a lot of praise. Except from Elliot, who now had the impression she was holding back against him the entire time. The bold, unpredictable moves she played would surely go down in their school's history. Benjamin gave his usual eccentric musical compliments, comparing her moves to a beautiful melody. Robert would then shout her name, getting the attention of everyone as he walked towards her. As she hid behind Elliot, Robert got down on one knee and asked to marry her, but only on the condition of chess. Benjamin started getting Shakespearean. I'm gonna quote him. "Romance is a melody that should stir the emotions more passionately. There is no beauty in such a marriage proposal. It's a musical catastrophe!" Everyone ignored him to get to the root of what Robert was asking. What did he mean by the condition of chess? Apparently, he was moved by the way Monica played, and now he was craving more from her. But they went to different schools and had nothing to tie them together. So, if they became engaged, they'd have a reason to meet during vacation and could play chess to their heart's content. Elliot was impressed by his selfishness. Benjamin found no musicality in this. But even so, Robert was the 5th son of a baron in the kingdom of Landor. Also, a candidate for commander of an order. He prided himself on having a secure future. His family had no debts. He assured her a marriage with no worry. But she only shrank anxiously like we've come to expect from this, and ran off apologizing. Felix and Cyril would stop Robert from going after her. Felix using the excuse Monica was part of the student council. So, Robert needed to speak to him about this first, while Cyril called this misconduct intolerable, and wouldn't be overlooking this. Yeah, they dragged him away. Catching her breath in the hallway, she had to suddenly deflect volleys of fire magic coming her way. Bernie then said, "So it was you after all, Monica." He walked down slowly and smugly, asking why a 7th sage would pretend to be a student, questioning if the rumor about her being holed up in a mountain cabin being all a lie, or if she was just hiding her true identity to relive student life. Now, he was truly questioning her intentions, accusing her of having fun being surrounded by men, acting flirtatious. She quivered out small words, trying to deny this. He then clutched her hair, taunting her for still being unable to have a proper conversation with everyone, yet trying to pretend to be fashionable. Then he claimed she was pretending to be helpless, to ingratiate herself with the second prince, like a parasite. He coldly called her selfish, saying she was always thinking about herself, and that she didn't have a single ounce of empathy for anything that happened to anyone else. She was brought to tears, wondering if this really was what Bernie thought of her. She tried telling herself not to cry, and as he told her that someone as selfish as her would soon be ignored by everyone, she started shaking, telling herself she knew that. No one paid attention to someone like her, but even so, she was happy. That's why she just wanted to be a friend he could be proud of. Lana finally cut in, asking Bernie to explain himself, and he just made the excuse the two of them went way back, which was why she got teary-eyed. He advised Lana not to be friends with her, claiming she pretended she couldn't do anything to take advantage of others. Lana took offense to this, replying that he was just a terrible judge of character. She called his oversized glasses stupid, and that maybe if he changed them, it might help him see people for who they really were. This caught him off guard, so he tried to cite Monica's talented chess gameplay from earlier as an example of her hiding her abilities to pander to others. Lana wouldn't take this. She knew the truth. He was just jealous of Monica. He audibly gasped, trying to keep himself together, telling Lana one day she'd realize the meaning of his words, adding that ordinary people like Lana couldn't get frustrated when the gap between them and a genius was too wide. And Monica finally spoke back. She told him she wouldn't forgive him for bad-mouthing her friend. Deep breath. She admits having always relied on him, hoping one day she could become someone amazing so he could rely on her too, wanting to be the type of friend who was on his level so they could laugh together as equals. But now, she was going to stop trying to earn his praise. Now telling him she'd never expect anything from him again. He finally started shaking. The two girls left him so he could only reflect by himself. Lana praised Monica for saying exactly what was on her mind. Today, Monica felt a bit braver. Her corset made her stand tall, and she was able to hold back her tears because she didn't want her makeup to smudge. All thanks to Lana. As Bernie walked in frustration, he tried to deny her words, telling himself he cut ties with Monica first, and that even with her chosen as one of the 7 sages, he took care of her when she couldn't do anything, but now saw she was leaning on someone else. He wanted her to pay more attention to him, notice him more, even fear him. He wouldn't accept this. He went to Professor Pittman, asking to play the next game first. Unfortunately, McCracken learned they lost to the university 2-1. Only win coming from Monica, of course. Bernie came to see McCracken, who actually didn't even remember who Bernie was, until it came to his mind Bernie was Monica's best friend. Bernie ignored this, simply seeking to get McCracken to sign off on the opponent roster switches for the tournament. Shortly after, he was still seething, unable to forgive Monica for turning away from him. He wanted Monica to fear him for all eternity, past and future alike. Let me stop here for a sec. Doesn't this level of jealousy sound a little overboard? But now suddenly, he'd stopped to ask Professor Pittman who he was exactly. Even though the man claimed to be a teacher from Minerva, Bernie pointed out he wasn't good at chess. There was nothing he could teach them. He then questioned the professor's subject specialty, getting no answer. But the biggest hint was Pittman asking who McCracken was earlier. Anyone affiliated with Minerva should know the water-bite mage, William McCracken. Pittman let off a devious smirk, commenting that Minerva kids really were the smarty-pants type. As he began his chant, Bernie quickly tried to counter with a chant of his own, landing an explosive strike. Bernie called Pittman a fool for challenging him to a duel of magecraft. However, Pittman, looking unfazed, called the attack about as painful as the prick of a needle. Bernie attacked again, only for it to amount to nothing. With a distorted voice, Pittman asked if this was Bernie's first time seeing dragon-shifting magecraft. Bernie had never heard of that before, but speculated this was forbidden body manipulation magecraft from the Schwargald Empire. If they've infiltrated, their target was surely Prince Felix. Bernie would quickly get his neck gripped by Pittman and strangled. That's when Monica barged in, only to get submerged in a water bubble spell to prevent her from screaming. However, Pittman wasn't prepared for a talent like hers. As the bubble began to emit light, he thought this was impossible, since one couldn't chant while drowning. Now Bernie was smug, but this time, on behalf of Monica, the legendary Silent Witch didn't need to chant to cast. Choking and conscience fading, he admits to himself he always knew Monica was a genius, that he was just an average person with a bit of talent who could never surpass her level. One shot from her was all it took to knock the villain out. With Bernie escaping from the jaws of death, Rin revealed she was the reason Monica was alerted. After hearing the two talk a little, Bernie understood Monica was here to protect Prince Felix. Monica was a little sad, telling him it seemed like her fake school life here was coming to an end. She'd have to tell the school why she caught Pittman, and then expose her true identity. Bernie scratched his head in frustration, telling Rin to change back, knowing Cyril and Neil were coming in to check what happened. Cyril demanded an explanation, and Bernie claimed someone swapped places with Eugene Pittman. He saw through the disguise and took him down. Monica was an innocent bystander that got caught up in this by chance. As she began getting escorted to the infirmary, she turned to Bernie, unable to get her words out to thank him. So, he told her she simply had to be thankful to him forever. The chess tournament was ultimately called off, and we learned from Felix the intruder wasn't cooperating in their investigation. Security would be reviewed and tightened after this incident. Monica knew as long as the intruder kept quiet and Bernie covered for her, she could probably keep attending the academy. She wondered why he protected her, even though he hated her so much. The following day, Isabel would ask Monica to come with her to the bell ringing festival in Corlapton. This was to pay respects to the dead and give them a send-off. However, Monica had somewhere to be, which made Isabel quite sad. So, she promised to go with Isabel the next time there was a festival in Kerbeck. Later, Monica got dressed up and Rin came to escort her to the Starseer Witch's estate. Soon, she was seated with Lewis as the Starseer Witch. Mary Harvey came offering wine and fruit juice. Mary wanted to deepen the friendship amongst the 7 sages and had been wanting to meet Monica for a while. Plus, they were the only girls in the group. Mary was presumably the oldest of the 7 sages and the kingdom's greatest prophetess. Just as Monica could cast unchanted spells and Lewis excelled at casting barriers, Mary was esteemed for her precision in star reading. Her unparalleled abilities earned her the trust of the throne, and she led the Seven Sages Council. Monica apologized for not attending her council meetings, but Mary said it was fine, since not much really happened. Apparently, Louis had been called here because Mary had a favor to ask of him. She explained she needed him for a seal undoing. They were performing a Magecraft offering for a magic cure release at the festival, and she also wanted Monica to attend. Louis then brought up how offerings were one of the Seven Sages' duties, and claimed Monica would benefit from observing. However, he wouldn't be in attendance, but allowed Monica to take Rin since her flights were for fast travel. Mary would then thank Monica for helping her students calculate observation records. Monica then mentioned a star chart that went back 10 years, which Mary explained belonged to Prince Felix. For 10 years, Felix's fate was the only one Mary hadn't been able to predict. As she left to freshen up, Louis noticed how concerning it was that Felix's fate couldn't be predicted. As for the assassin who was apprehended during the chess tournament, he would use any means necessary to make him spill the name of the person behind the attack. Shortly after, Rin returned, and Louis ordered her to take both Monica and Mary to Corlapton, but she would stay with Monica there. He told her to think of it as a little break, adding that an ancient magical item would be used in the Magecraft offering. Hearing this, Monica's eyes sparkled with excitement. Louis called the item the Star-Weaving Mirror and explained it could absorb mana from the ground. As a matter of fact, he had come here to undo the item's seal. Though the task shouldn't be too much of a hassle, he mentioned that ancient magic items had a mind of their own. He then explained that if the owner of the Star-Weaving Mirror was a man, it would kill him. So it was more of a cursed magic item. It spoke to him the entire time he was trying to undo the seal, and he admitted it was quite an intense personality. Rin found it interesting, hearing that this magic item could tire out her master. At Corlapton, the streets were filled with hundreds of people dressed up in all kinds of costumes. A man selling charms on the street was frustrated at business not going too well. He had been involved with fake merchants who infiltrated Serendia, posing as the Abbott Company. The man then realized he hadn't drawn the logo too well. Looking for a way to rake in money fast, he decided to take a look at the ancient magic item for today's Magecraft offering and make replicas off of it to sell. On their way to the festival, Monica asked Mary how much mana the Star-Weaving Mirror could absorb. Mary replied that if the stars were in the right position, it could absorb about 2 or 3 cities worth, and that the mana absorbed could also be used for offensive spells. As they landed, Monica was shocked to see Felix in costume, having used the golden ratio to spot him out. Then, she quickly rushed off to say hello, but the crowd was so dense, there was no way she'd be able to locate him. She would bump into the merchant from earlier, and seeing her condition, he offered to help her out, introducing himself as Bartholomeus. As they walked together, the bells started ringing, causing everyone to stop and ring the bells in their hands. Bartholomeus mentioned there was a festival like this back in his hometown. Monica thought the sound of the bells were beautiful, but also a bit somber. She wondered how many people even got to have proper goodbyes with their loved ones, and it reminded her of her father. Just as they were about to continue their search, Felix approached them, startling Monica. She'd been hoping to guard the prince without being noticed, but the plan was down the drain. The prince was obviously here to enjoy the festival, but Monica was freaking out, wondering why he was all by himself without a single bodyguard. The prince could hardly believe she came all the way out here by herself to have fun. Monica would then tell him she had a secret, that she was a troublemaker, but this only made the prince laugh. Still, he decided they should enjoy the nightlife together. For tonight, he told her to refer to him as Ike. Meanwhile, Bartholomeus cracked the locked door that led to the Star-Weaving Mirror and snuck into the room. Just looking at it fired up his imagination as a craftsman. Later, Felix took Monica to Madame Cassandra's estate, where she was so flabbergasted by the scenery, she clucked like a chicken. A lady named Doris approached them and took them to see the madam. There, Felix asked the woman to help find an outfit for Monica, so Doris dragged her off to get dressed. Cassandra would then give Felix some letters from the nobles he had met at her shop. She could tell these were all from men dissatisfied with Duke Clockford, and asked if this would be her last time seeing him. Felix then dropped a huge bag of coins on the table, telling her to use it for a feast befitting of the festival. Monica then came in, looking dazed as she counted numbers while wearing a dress. Felix would assure her that she wasn't brought to be sold off. So, they found an outfit more fitting of the festival for Monica. She wondered if the costume had horse ears. However, everyone there called her a squirrel. With Felix saying the night was short, and that they should enjoy it to the fullest, she nervously took his hand and they went off. Enjoying the festival, a vendor selling accessories called out to them, claiming his items were enchanted. None of them seemed effective to Monica, but then she noticed one enchanted with a simple defense barrier. The vendor told her it was made by one of the 7 sages, the Gem Mage. Felix had heard of him, referring to him as Emmanuel Darwin, a genius known for creating magic items. Looking at it, Monica thought the gem resembled Cyril's brooch. She recalled his brooch also had the Gem Mage's name inscribed on it as well. After getting the gem, Felix offered to get something for Monica, an accessory that would match the makeup she wore during the chess tournament. Monica would recall the first time they met, and how happy she was when Felix picked up those tree nuts for her. She cherished them like little treasures. These accessories weren't as special as the tree nuts from that day. Then, she started rambling about not being ready for accessories yet. So, Felix decided they would leave it at that. He then bought her some traditional confectionaries and shared them with her. While they sat and ate together, Felix removed a crumb from her face and asked if people made her nervous. Monica felt she always ruined the moment when someone was trying to be nice to her. But Felix told her to think of him as a ghost, as if he wasn't there. Then, he couldn't hurt her. With him leaving to get a drink, Rin appeared beside Monica, catching her off guard. The Starseer Witch's familiar then came to them with a letter, revealing that someone had stolen the star-weaving mirror. Not what Monica was expecting at all. As Bart went to steal the star-weaving mirror, he started hearing a lady's voice speaking to him. But it was the artifact, saying her beloved had come to rescue her. The mirror changed its form, attaching itself to his hand, and swore to never let go. As it professed its love for him, it took Bart flying out of the building while saying, "I love you," over and over. Meanwhile, Monica was able to locate the mirror flying through the skies. She decided to take care of it, and asked Rin to protect the prince. And also asking Rin to send her flying to the bell tower in the distance, Rin gladly did it with all her might. Bart was being dragged through the streets by the mirror, who kept flirting with him. He eventually persuaded it to go somewhere else where people weren't around. And just as he arrived at the bell tower, Monica came flying in, but luckily softened her landing with wind magic. Bart quickly asked for help, explaining that he wasn't a thief and that the mirror had attached itself to him. Hearing this, the artifact's personality suddenly changed, deciding it would die together with him, and started floating into the sky. Seeing this, Monica recalled when Lewis had told her that the mirror would kill its owner if it were a man. Considering the magic item had free will and could communicate, Monica had an idea that would work in theory, but she needed to get close to use magecraft. With wind magic, she took to the skies and began chasing after the mirror. At the same time, Mary cast a spell around the city as she looked forward to seeing how Monica would handle this. Monica was struggling to maintain her balance until she recalled her horse riding lessons with Felix, which allowed her to control her magic staff. Upon getting close to the mirror, it fired spells at her, but Monica quickly blocked with some magic shields. The artifact had so much power, and considering it was absorbing magic from the land, there was no limit. In seconds, Mira had conjured countless magic arrows, all pointing towards Monica. These were all just numbers to her. After all, the world was made up of numbers. So, she let go of her staff and began falling as the arrows rained down. With this, she got out by conjuring 2 defensive barriers to protect herself. After that, there were only 3.5 seconds until the next arrow would be released. So, Monica rushed towards the artifact and unleashed her mind manipulation magecraft, allowing her to stop the magic item's rampage by helping it think it found true love. But after all that, her mana was depleted, so they started falling. Luckily, Rin was able to save them just in the nick of time. She decided to deliver the star-weaving mirror to Mary, while Monica would meet up with Prince Felix. Meeting with her, Felix asked Monica if he was too boring for her. Right now, he felt like he was a ghost who existed nowhere. So, he told her it was okay to run away if she was scared. However, Monica saw herself to be a ghost just like him that didn't exist anywhere as well, and asked that they go out to have some fun together. Soon after, they stopped at a bookstore where Felix introduced Monica to the owner, Porter. The prince then went to check out some new books Porter had stocked up on. He got excited about the book called The Fountain of Minerva. This made Monica nervous, wondering how he knew about it. This was a book where Minerva's teachers and students published papers on magecraft. To make it worse for her, there were 3 books there that covered papers by the Silent Witch. Felix revealed how knowledgeable he was on one of her papers and talked about how he was a big fan of the Silent Witch. He wondered if he'd ever be able to get to see her enchanted magecraft again. After all, she was his first love. Monica, on the other hand, was panicking because he had seen her magecraft in the first place. She just wanted to escape to the world of numbers. Felix had once met the Silent Witch during the inauguration of the 7 Sages, but she had her hood down, so he couldn't see her face. His plan was once he became king, he'd be able to meet with her whenever he pleased. While Monica was going through the bookstore, tears would well up in her eyes as she came across one of her father's books. This book was one of the many burned as a forbidden text. The same numbers within were now in her arms. She decided to buy it, but Porter priced it at 2 gold coins because the book belonged to his old friend. Monica was shocked to hear that her father and Porter were friends. Since she was unable to cough up that kind of money, Felix offered to pay for her, seeing that she valued it a lot. Back then, everyone threw her father's research into the flames, treating it as if it were worthless. And no matter how much Monica pleaded, no one listened to her. She couldn't begin to tell people how valuable it was. But here, before her, the prince acknowledged that, for her, this book was extremely precious. Even without knowing why, Monica couldn't stop crying as she thanked Felix dearly. Afterwards, they returned to the festival, just in time for the Magecraft offering. As the people rang their bells and Mary performed, the souls of the dead began returning to the sky. On the night of the festival, when the dead visited, Monica was finally able to meet her father. She promised that one day, she'd be able to hold her head high and tell him that she did her best. And when the time would come when she'd pass through the gates of the underworld, she hoped her father would praise her like he used to. Felix would then ring the bell on Monica's staff. He too wanted to tell his friend that he was going to make their wish come true. After the festival, Felix and Monica were eager to start reading their books immediately. So they went to a room where they dived deep into the books. Moments later, Monica felt hot and took off her dress before lying in bed to rest. Meanwhile, Rin asked Mary why she arranged for the star-weaving mirror to be stolen. Mary simply replied that everything was written in the stars. Monica then woke up to Felix beside her, of course scaring her. She got on the ground and asked if this meant the death sentence for her. Then she noticed a necklace on her, which Felix seemed to have put on her. It had the same color as his eyes. He claimed this was for his own satisfaction and a gift he got to enjoy. Felix just wanted Monica to remember Ike, the boy she had fun with. Even though their nighttime adventures didn't go as planned, Monica admitted she still had a lot of fun. Days later, she returned to school and went to the student council office, where she was surprised to see Cyril. She had wanted to check on the ledgers, but Cyril had already taken care of it. Monica thought about how she had been helped by the kindness of so many people since coming to the academy, hence why she couldn't reveal her identity, or her school life would be over. For now, she was happy just being Monica Norton, and not the Silent Witch. Wanting to give something back, she assured Cyril he could count on her to do her best. Alright guys, we finally hit the end of the series. And what do I think? Conceptually, the show had an interesting starting premise. Not that it was novel by any means, it really is just Bocchi the Rock if she were the most powerful witch in a fantasy world. But interesting in a sense that this kind of tale doesn't exist anywhere else yet. Unfortunately, I think the anime has a lot of storytelling no-nos. Like, doing nothing to progress the plot for several episodes, introducing Bernie as a main driver for her trauma, and resolving it so quickly. This last part where we learn Mary set things up for the events of the star-weaving mirror to be taken, and then saying, "It was written in the stars," is so stupid. I just feel like the show wanted to do a lot of things, but also accomplished none of them at the same time. Maybe in light novel form, it's a lot better, but what do you guys think? Subscribe for more content, but for now, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.